Hey, it's me, OGDuffy, back with another Versus video. And what a video we got this week. You guys have seen the thumbnail, you know what's coming up. It's Barbarian. Now, this was released in 1987 on the home computer systems, okay? And this game was controversial. Yes, very controversial, because it had a voluptuous Maria Whittaker, who was a page 3 model back in the day. Oh yes. Anyway, I get carried away. But she was very nice, was our Maria, and she was on bikini clad, draping herself around the legs of the Barbarian, and for that reason they said it was highly sexualised, and the promotion work and stuff. And I think, you know, at the time there was a lot of controversy because of that, and of course violence, because you swing a sword at people.
Violence?
So, did this harm the game? Not at all. It gave it huge promotion and it pushed sales through the roof.
We're in the money.
Simply because of the controversy around it, which we always see in lots of video games, okay? And for those that watch my channel, there's a thumbnail there. I featured this on that there, the most shocking adverts. Check it out after this, of course, after this. But, yeah, always good fun. But anyway, Maria and Wolf from Gladiator, who Gladiators didn't exist at the time, but he was the model that was the guy with Maria at the time. So, controversially, this was pushed massively. But forget that. Forget the breasts and
breast thighs,
and forget the muscles and the bulging biceps and all the violence and the sexuality. Let's look at the game. Now, the game in question wasn't a coin-op release, so I think it was Palace Software did this one. So we're going to look at the home bit systems, and the following ones we're looking at are the following. We're going to look at 4 8-bit systems, and we're looking at the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC, the Commodore 64, and the BBC Micro. Now, I don't use the BBC very often on this channel, but when I do, you know, it's one of them. It sort of passed me by a bit. I've told you guys that in the past, because I saw it as more an educational tool than I did as a gaming machine. But equally, as well, right at the end, although this isn't in the comparisons, we're not putting this in the comparison, it's not in the versus bit, we'll have a quick look at the Amiga version as well, okay? So it's a total of 5 versions we're looking at this week. So, without further ado, let's cast Maria Whittaker to one side.
you what?
I know that's a hard thing to do, but we're going to do it. Cast Wolf from Gladiators to one side.
Not a problem.
I was never a fan of him anyway. Anyway, let's crack on. So here we go. Let's go take a look at the great game, and it was good, Barbarian. Here we go. So this is the ZX Spectrum version. Now, in typical Spectrum style, the graphics were pretty much what you'd expect. And actually, I think very well drawn, actually. You know, I thought it had quite nice sharp sprites. It played well, animated fairly well. And one thing that they did that was very clever was the way they used the colours and the graphics of the characters to stop the colour clash. There was, as we all know, Spectrum had the problems with the colour clash, but they did this very well to prevent the colour clash, and it works. As you can see, I had several levels. There were several ways of playing this game. You could play single player version, in which case you kept facing off against various opponents until such time as you'd get to the end. And of course, Evil Wizard Drax, I believe was his name, had the princess, and if you defeat him at the end, you get the princess, which was, I don't know if I might have mentioned this, but was one Maria Whittaker. I don't know if I've told you guys that yet. Anyway, onwards and upwards. So, all in all, it wasn't bad. I mean, typical specky sort of sounds and that. And I did have this version back in the day. I can remember playing it. But this game really did come into its own on all systems when it was 2-player versions. Having your mates around, it was great. You could use defensive moves as well as attacking moves, and chopping heads off was always a very good move and much fun. So, all in all, that concludes sort of the specky version. We are going to take a look at the game ending of the specky version as well while we're at it, because I think we've got a few comparisons of some game endings. Now, those that follow my channel know on a Sunday morning now. I have a new series I'm showing, which is arcade game endings. And here we go. This is the ending of Barbarian on the Spectrum. So that's Drax there. Give him a swipe, and Maria is all yours. Well, hey. Next up, this was the BBC Micro. As I've mentioned before, whenever we've covered the BBC Micro, I wasn't a huge fan of the BBC Micro. My knowledge of it is very limited, people. So this is where I need your comments to help me out with things and stuff. Colours are a bit odd on this one. And if I recall, this wasn't released at the same time as other systems. I think it was made a few years later, whether it was a fan-based thing or what, I'm really not clear. So please do tell me in the comments if you know anything about the background of the BBC Micro version of Barbarian, okay? Because I would really appreciate it. And hey, you guys do know your stuff. But all in all, I was quite impressed by this for a BBC game, because as I say, I weren't a big fan back in the day, so good effort, a really good little outing here. So that concludes the BBC Micro version, and next up, let's go take a look at the Commodore 64. There we go. This is the one I probably have the most memories of playing with friends back in our youth. To be honest, I had one friend who was particularly good at it, and he'd always kick our backsides. But it was good fun. It reminded me of the way of the exploding fist, the way you can control it, because you'd have sort of 8 directional positions on the joystick, and then if you pressed the fire button on the joystick and pushed it in them directions, you could then perform other manoeuvres. Like I said earlier when I was talking about the Spectrum version, you could defensive moves, then rolls were very handy, and I have read somewhere someone said that they could just roll them into the corner, and then you can just keep battering them from there. Again, you guys probably know. Let me know your memories from this. Did you have the Maria Whittaker poster on your wall? If so, is it still in one piece? Great collector's piece, I'd imagine. I did like this little goblin fella who used to come along and help you out by removing the bodies. Now, I'm just going to show you the ending of the C64 version here. So there you go, you've got to fight Drax the Wizard again, like you did from the Specky version. Got in close, but this time Maria doesn't drape herself round your legs like she does on the Specky version. No, but she has a nice little message for you, and it is this. Thanks, big boy. Thank you, Maria. And then she goes back up with Drax in the tower, so I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, Amstrad CPC. Now, the first things first with this, the colours. Look how bright and vibrant they are. I don't think it played as well as the 64 version. It didn't seem to be as fluid, but look how bright it was. I'll be honest, the graphics and the colours for this was superb. And the Barbarian logo there, I mean, that's just a great sign of what the Amstrad was capable of, you know. So this was another good version. Head removed there, bit of blood spurt, which is nice. The head kick, of course, from the goblin, or comes and removes the body, and off he goes, dragging off the Amstrad CPC version, which just leaves us with this, the 16-bit version. Now, this is the Amiga version. It was, I believe, also released on the Atari ST, but my understanding is the Amiga version was superior to the ST, so that's why I'm really not bothering with the comparisons. I don't think there was much closeness between them. As you can see and would expect, the graphics are a lot brighter, a lot more animated, and I quite like the background in this, like the eyes in the woods and like the squirrels running along and stuff. But I've got a little treat with this one. We're going to hold fire, right, and right to the end of this, I'm going to show you the end sequence of a certain princess rescue, which I may have mentioned or may not have mentioned, was Maria Whittaker in the posters. But hey, you know, I may not have mentioned it, but it was her on the cover, definitely. But this, I think, was the best ending. Thoroughly enjoyable, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. Watch this space. So that was the general battle. But like I say, here we go. Head kick. Drag the body off, and a nice smooth there, nice smooth scrolling. So this is the final boss. Drax himself, here he comes. So not dissimilar, but very, very different to the other version. He's still got his fire lightning bolts he's throwing around, but and again, he's harder to beat on this version. I mean, you have to get several hits on him. But as you can see up there, the princess is chained up. Looks like she's going to be some form of sacrifice. But hey, what a waste of a human life. That's all I have to say. But anyway, I'm sure our barbarian hero will save the princess. Because, hey, you know, the good guy always wins. Well, used to in the 80s anyway. But anyway, here we go. So, he's taking on Drax now. Now, there was a Barbarian 2, a follow-up to this, and I do believe Maria Whittaker, well, I don't believe, I know Maria Whittaker, again appeared on the cover. So here we go. This is the ending. I love this. I think this is just very tongue-in-cheek. So there he is. Gets a nice kiss, but this is brilliant. The little smack on the arse, my God. Well, that concludes Barbarian on the computer system. So, a big cheers to Maria Whittaker for, I don't know, being a great poster on many a bedroom wall back in the day. Because, hey, this game did come with a free poster. I'm sure that helped boost sales. Hey, I never had a copy of the poster, honest. I think I might have had a knockoff of this game. So, anyway, who knows. But, here comes my verdict. So, out of the 8-bit systems, well, in fourth position is the BBC Micro. Okay? As you heard in the video, I explained the different bits about the game and stuff. And so BBC Micro comes fourth. In third position, it goes to the ZX Spectrum version. Okay? All in all, not bad. I mean, all of these versions of the game was pretty good. And especially in 2-player format, if you had friends around and all that, it was a great game for that. So in second position, I give it to the Amstrad CPC, which means in first position this week, Commodore 64 comes back with a vengeance and slices heads and all that good stuff, and it is back. Barbarian on the Commodore 64 takes it this time. It was great. I loved it on the C64. It was really good, and as I said earlier, if you had friends around, it made really good game. It was great gameplay. Don't get me wrong, in 1-player version it wasn't brilliant, but it was playable. It was still good, but if you had mates, this was a really good game. It's thoroughly enjoyable. And hey, did I tell you guys, did I mention Maria Whittaker was on the front cover?
You mentioned that, it's nice.
I might mention it once or twice. And if I didn't, I'm sure the critics did at the time. And of course, and then finally we took a look at the Amiga version. But again, that doesn't fall into the comparison. So Commodore 64 this week takes it. So without further ado, that's everything from me. But if you don't already do so, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, in the comments, let me have your thoughts and memories. Not just about the game, but about the controversy around Maria Whittaker and the poster of the time and the violence that this game portrayed, okay? So I'm sure some of you guys have got some great stories. And has any one of you still got the original poster? Because if you have, respect is due. Anyway, I've been OGDuffy. It's a cheers from me. And this is to Maria Whittaker. Bless you, Maria. You did a great job for us boys back then. Thank you very much. I've been OGDuffy, and as always, in true barbarian style, I'm out. If you watch the video and you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe for more great videos. Thanks for watching.